Hello, everyone. Dr. Ames here. This time, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the hiring of CEOs. Generally, the question is, do we hire from within or do we bring in an outsider? Um, and there certainly are a great many advantages to hiring someone from within versus that outsider. Certainly, the insider might have some industry knowledge, might already have some contacts, have a real good understanding of the dynamics and what's in play in the industry and understand the best practices really well. If you take a look at this graphic here, we can really kind of interpret a few things from it. The large bars here on the bottom, these represent different blockings of years. So 2004 to 7 here, 2008 to 11 here, and 2012 to 15 here. Okay, so what we're saying is this color here, the aqua, is someone was hired who is a current employee. So in that first block of years, 2004 to 2007, 63% of top CEOs were hired from within the company. And then you can see in the next block of years, it went up. In fact, it went up about 9%, which is a pretty solid increase. So that means some attitude, something changed in between here. Then we look over here in that block of years from 2012 to 2015, it went up again, but not as dramatically. So it seems to have reached some sort of equilibrium. But the trend is what we want to look at and say, this is what we can learn from a graph like this. There's a general trend from, say, 2004 to 2015 that we have an increase and CEOs being hired from within the company already rather than choosing an outsider. And the biggest increase was in the middle, in the block of years. So this might indicate that this is where the practice is stabilizing and leveling off. Um, when you look at this, what we would call turquoise here, this is the number of outsiders hired for CEO positions. So you can see that makes sense. If it was lower here for current employees, it's slightly higher here for hiring outsiders. There was something learned between here and here. And indeed, there has been research since then, in fact, ongoing since the 90s, really, looking at the benefits of hiring people who are familiar with the industry and so forth. Does seem to be a great advantage. The problem seems to be that when CEOs come in from somewhere else, they might be hired for their charisma or for their fabulous track record in a different industry. And they just might lack that expertise and might not really be appropriate for the job, even though they seem like a terrific CEO. And in fact, they have that proven track record. And there are plenty of examples out there. So we see in these middle years that it decreased from the amount we had previously in the 2004 to 7 block. It dropped. Well, it increased hiring from within. And then we see that it dropped a few more percent. Well, it increased a couple more percent of hiring from within in the next block. Now, I'm not sure where these others come from exactly. I can speak to this darker maroon line, though. Those who are promoted within 18 months. Now, think about the implications of what that really means. If they were hired within 18 months, that means they came to the company 18 months ago and they were hired as a CEO within 18 months. That means they're basically an outsider. But they're a special class of outsider that may have been recruited to say, why don't you come and be the VP and work with the CEO right now and learn the ropes and let's see how things go. And if successful, we'll put you up before the board to be approved to be the new CEO and take over. And that would not be an uncommon practice. So you can see here how the amounts of this differ. This appears, I looked at it, it looked to me to be around 3% only, maybe a little bit more now. We do see the practice going on occasionally. Um, but that's fairly typical of what we see in companies. So we can see a trend, right? That it makes more sense because of the advantages, which we really aren't the purpose of our class to cover that, but the advantages really do outweigh the disadvantages. And it clearly shows that that is the trend in management today, that we're going to hire from within because it's just good logical sense to do so. Okay, folks, that's all I want to talk about this time. I'll talk to you again soon.